All right, we're visiting with Natalie Rossi, the new GCU head women's hockey coach on our Women of Hockey Week here in Arizona. Natalie, welcome to the show again.
Thank you for having me again.
We had a chance to visit earlier about the state of the Lopes. Now we're going to talk specifically about women's hockey, and I want you to tell me just a little bit about growing up as a female in New Jersey and playing hockey, and what was it like for you? When did you get your first skates? What are things that are memorable to you?
Oh gosh, well, I started by figure skating. My dad had been a hockey player. My mom was not a hockey player, but she liked hockey a lot. So my dad put my brother and I in skates, and I was a figure skater. And I fell down, hit my head, refused to go back on the ice. So I was going to the rink and watching my younger brother play, and after a while I was like, well, why can't I do that? Like, why does Mikey get to do it and I don't? And my dad saw me and he goes, oh, you want to get back on the ice? And ran around the rink like a crazy person and just found all this equipment and threw it on me. And then he pushed me out on the ice. Was like, go, you're gonna get on, do it. So he was always, and my mom have always been such great supporters, and even my younger brother, he would go to the rink with me all of the time and usually school me a little bit because he is a very good hockey player.
So how much younger is the brother than you?
My brother's 3 years younger than me, yeah.
Okay.
So I always played with him. I played with boys up until high school. When I was too short, too small to play with the boys anymore, I moved over to girls hockey. And actually I went to a tournament in Connecticut, and it was my first time going to a girls tournament, and I walked around and I was like, you're a girl. Oh my gosh, you're a girl. There's all these girls. So it was kind of amazing for me to see that, and then after going to college, I went back to New Jersey and I coached the Rockets there. And one day I walked into the rink and we'd grown that program to have teams at all of the levels.
Wow.
And you walked in and every ice lap for the first 4 or 5 hours of the day was all girls hockey, was all ours. And that was just this feeling of pride because I came up and there wasn't that many girls playing when I first started. And then I was able to go back, coach, and help that grow into something absolutely amazing. So it's always been something I'm really proud of, is saying that I grew up playing hockey, switched over to girls, and then I was able to come back and help it grow as much as I was.
Can you put your finger on the concept of hockey and why it's such a sport that people just fall in love with and can't get away from it? It's like no other.
It really is. I think my favorite thing about hockey is I step onto the ice and that glass, it does something because everything else in the world fades away. You could have a fight with somebody, or when I was in school, I could get a bad grade on a test, and then you step on the ice and everything else is gone. It was just this happy place that's the best place in the entire world.
So when you came out here, can you give me a comparison or maybe even likenesses of what youth hockey for girls in Arizona is as compared to what you saw in New Jersey? Are they similar?
Here it's starting to develop a lot more, so it's more like when I was younger.
Okay.
And you can see that growth starting to happen, especially if you go around to the Learn to Skates and the little howler programs that the Coyotes do. You can start seeing more and more girls and more ponytails out there, and with that you can see that growth is going to continue. So.
And you talked to me a little bit off camera about the influence that Matt Schott said. He's done an excellent job with the Coyotes youth program and really getting involved with it. So how important is it to women's hockey for the Coyotes to find a home, to maintain a home, be stable, and be here? How important is that?
I think it's important for girls hockey, for boys hockey, for all hockey here. It's not a traditional hockey kind of town, so having those role models here is great. And the Coyotes, they've done a lot of girls hockey weekends and clinics and things like that, and they're able to bring in Olympic players, and Lindsay Fry is huge here as well, with making that girls game more accessible, and seeing female role models in that way for the girls is really, really good.
So is there going to be any over-the-bench type things with Matt being on the other bench when you play ASU, or you guys calmed it down enough to where you're going to be okay?
If I have a water bottle and I can reach him, I might squirt him across the bench.
Remember, he's got a lot longer reach than you, so
right.
it could be what goes around comes around.
Yeah, that would be scary.
So as we talk about not only women's hockey now, but the growth of women's hockey, how big do you think it's going to be in Arizona, for example, with what you're seeing now with 2 college programs?
I think the possibilities that we have here are endless. I can't see an end for them because the amount of growth that we're expecting in the next couple of years is really I think going to be very exciting, and having a second college program here is going to get more teams to come in. So the girls will get to see, the local girls will get to see more teams playing. And then also with our girls here, what we're going to try and do is have those girls get on the ice with the younger girls as much as possible and work with the local rinks to make sure that if there is a little girl, she has a female role model, and we want to be that female role model.
So you mentioned Lindsay Fry, and she's had a chance to play in a couple Olympics and play some big-time college hockey. And the past week we saw one of the biggest, I think, women's college hockey programs go by the wayside. And just give me a little feelings on what it was like for you to hear that North Dakota dismantling their women's program.
I think you never want to see a women's program be disbanded. You always want to see more growth, and just knowing that a program can get cut, it just stinks to see that. And it was a good program that I remember watching, a lot of the time. So
So tell me a little bit about, as your program grows right now, what do you guys do at GCU that keeps it so successful already? I mean, you haven't even hit the ice yet, and your program's growing. So tell me what GCU is doing that's kind of being a model for success financially and physically on the ice.
Yeah, so for recruiting purposes, in-state and out-of-state tuition being the same has been absolutely huge, because I can say to a player from New Mexico or a goalie from Alaska, hey, in-state and out-of-state tuition's the same, so it doesn't cost you extra money to come here because you're out of state, and that's been very helpful. We have amazing admissions counselors and reps that I emailed one of them the other day, and within 20 minutes she called my recruit to tell her more about GCU. So it's been really helpful to have that backing from the university.
So as we look at this week, we also have the, I call it a triumph with the women's national team finally getting some more recognition and some more compensation. So what's your thoughts on that and growing? Right now, obviously, they're a team possessed because they're going out there and just absolutely dominating in world play right now.
I think they deserve equality. They're a great hockey team, the best, in my opinion, but also I am American. But they're proving that, too, out there, and they're one of the best teams. They're the best in the world for female hockey players, and they deserve to be treated just as well as the men do. So how important was it for the men to step up and really be solid with the women's program and go to bat for them, basically? I think that's huge. It's always great as a female when anyone stands behind you, or as any person fighting for anything, to have somebody else stand behind you. But for the men to stand up and say that they agree with the women, I think that helped a lot, and it was really important. So we're talking now in April, and you've got a lot of things on your plate between now and then. So what would you like to see first day on the ice? How many players would you like to have ideally? Well, tell me a little bit about where you'd like to be. Well, I mean, a roster caps out at 25, 26. I'd love to have that many. But I think we'll look more at a roster between 15 and 20 girls, and that's going to be really amazing to have said that we recruited that many people, and our campus has definitely been a big part of that. So getting on the ice with that, and I think we're going to have to work really hard on and off the ice as a team to get back into that team, have 20 strangers or 15 strangers meet each other and play as a team for our first games 3 weeks later. So I'm sure you had a chance to watch ASU's program and the struggles that they had with numbers, just because when you have low numbers to start with, then you have some injuries and illnesses and things like that. How do you plan to combat that, if that should be something that comes your way too here? We're going to do a lot of strength and conditioning off the ice, so hopefully that helps keep down on injuries. It's something that as a coach I think you have to try and plan for, but at the same time not really be too, it's going to happen if it happens, and it's something that I'm not going to love, but we will be in good enough shape that if we need to, we will be able to play with lesser players. All right, let's finish things up by telling me a little bit about your coaching style. What do you like to do? What do you want your team to represent? How do you want them to represent GCU? I think for me as a coaching style, I think about what I love hearing about my teams, and the best compliment I ever got was a coach. We played each other 2-1. He had a great team. He came up to me and he shook my hand afterwards and he said, your team was hard to play against. It was difficult to play against your team. I've always loved to have that kind of team that doesn't give up. So they work from the first puck drop all the way to that last buzzer, and I like that kind of team that works really hard and competes the entire time. That's something that I've always told my players is, when it comes to game time, you can't change your talent level, but what you can decide on right here and now is how hard you're going to compete, and that's the most important thing.
So you get to close things up with speaking directly to the GCU faithful. Tell them what they can expect from GCU women's hockey this year.
I think this year you'll expect some hardworking team that's ready to compete, and we're looking forward to everyone coming and watching our games.
Thank you, Natalie. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.